My name is Eduard Ockerse. I work at Achmea on the Centraal Beheer app, and I'm going to give a short talk about ARKit. First, I'm going to go do the intro. Yeah, basically, this is what I just said. At Achmea, we work on a corporate app. It's an insurance company where we also do investments and, well, damage reporting for your insurances and other things. That said, we also have every 3 months we do a hackathon internally where we try to do some fun and innovative things. One of the more day job things is, for example, this damage reporting, which is it's a form. You say what you have, nothing, probably not too fancy for the most of you here. Some of the little things we do in the hackathons. I didn't know if you saw the detail. It's a really short recording. If you see the windmill, it's basically one idea. We want to make it a little bit more special, sort of like on the agenda on the sun going around. That kind of small details, like here the windmill, where we also we had a discussion about a couple of hours if it should rotate left or right, and somebody actually looked into it, and there seems to be a theory that in Netherlands it always rotates left. I don't know why exactly it was, but yeah, it was a long conversation just to make it rotate one side or the other side. And yeah, sadly it was the one time that Android team was right, they said left, we said right, but yeah, it was left. Yeah, this is a similar example. These are our insurance overview, and when you go into details, you can actually see here the woman clicking or slamming the wooden thing. Same with insurance, the holiday insurance, you see the plane going away. But yeah, that's for the normal job, the day job. Today here I'm to give a short talk about ARKit, which we also had some playing around with on the last hackathon we had. I'm going to start off with some basics, some good to know things also. I'm not sure how many people know about ARKit. Okay, so yeah, good to have at least some talk then about it. The two most important things we're going to talk about today and use, it's a tracking. Yeah, I mean, the description says there, I can read it out loud. It provides the camera basically the viewing position and orientation into the physical world or environment that we need to know we can know where we are with the camera to place our virtual content. And AR anchors are basically what helps us do it. That is what we know, where's the thing we're tracking relative to the camera. Yeah, small continuation of the intro. ARKit 1 and 1.5, they had a couple of tracking configurations. The first one is orientation, which say it in a really simple way, it's basically you only know the rotation of the device. Think about it like 360 videos. Then there also was world tracking. You know the relative location of the device in the physical world, its orientation and physical scale. There was also plane detections. Plane detections, think about it like floors, walls, it can be a table, that kind of things. And it also had face tracking. We played around with ARKit 2 because when we had the last hackathon, it was a couple of weeks after the release of iOS 12, which introduced ARKit 2. And yeah, we had one thing we especially liked was the image tracking configuration. We will go into depth into that configuration in a moment, so continue with the object tracking. With that, we can track 3D content. Think about it like sculptures, toys, anything 3D. And there's also introduced in ARKit 2 was the saving and loading of maps. Think about it like when you start a session with ARKit, every time you had to start over, even if you were in the same position, same conditions, you had to start again over and over. With this, you could save the state, even possibly send it to another user, so it doesn't need to scan the whole room again to continue the session. Yeah, for the demo, I need 2 papers. 1 second, sorry. I printed out 2 papers that are the images that I'm gonna use to scan. It's some of the Dutch people probably know it, of the ads, which is Centraal Beheer is quite known about in the Netherlands. I'm going to use these two to play a TV ad, which is, well, this is a frame of the TV ad. I'm going to scan them with the phone and just play the ad on top of them. So yeah, those are exactly the two. Maybe, yeah, we can leave them on the floor if you want. It's, yeah, okay. No, well, I mean, I'm going to do that step for step. So if you want to leave them, I'll, yeah. You can stand it for now if you want, but yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna keep them. Yeah. So yeah, basically, what do we need? We need a iOS 12 device and one capable of running image tracking configuration. Translates into an iPhone 6s or newer. So yeah, let's get to the coding part. For ease of use, I use snippets. I didn't want to do that much of a live demo. Variables, I'm going to get to them one by one in a second. One of the most important ones is this one, the AR scene view, which basically does 90% of everything out of the box for us. So yeah, when we launch the app, we're directly going to open this view controller, so it's going to be a really simple app just for the demo purposes. And yeah, then what are we going to do? On the load view, I'm going to replace the view with the AR scene view. When the view did load, I'm going to set up some components. We'll get to that in a second. Every time the view will appear, I'm going to create and run the AR session. And when the view will disappear, I'm going to pause the session. Setting up the components. What are we going to do there? It's quite simple. We're going to load some images, some resource or reference images, tracking images also called in this mode. And well, after setting the configuration and making sure we actually have images, basically what we're going to do is run the configuration and magic will happen, sort of. Some comments about the problems we encountered with the images. Well, you probably saw the images, they are in black and white. It's partially also done on purpose because ARKit, it translates any reference image you input to a black and white image. They work with feature points and yeah, colors don't matter for that. Yeah, some tips, like here you see the warning. The images, I'm not sure if it's readable. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah. So yeah, there are a couple of things you need to keep in mind when adding images. The histogram needs to be okay, the contrast needs to be okay, there needs to be a big variety of contrast points. It needs to be at least 480 pixels on the smaller size. Another warning that's not here, it's the aspect ratio needs to be not too big. For example, think about a panoramic photo of 10 by 1 aspect ratio. That's also not ideal for ARKit reference images. And yeah, so those are a couple of the errors you can encounter. Especially if you are going to start using ARKit, I would recommend to start using the reference images, inputting them through the assets folder by creating a new AR resource group. By adding them here manually so you can see if they are actually valid or not. Of course, if you're going to use more images, it's easier and much more efficient to do it programmatically. But yeah, at least in the beginning, you get a feeling about, well, what is a good image and what isn't. Yeah, another thing to note, Apple recommends maximum of 25 images. Playing around, I did try to add 400 once, and only opening the app took 6 minutes on an iPhone 10. So yeah, you can do it, but again, not really recommended. Yeah, so what are we missing here? This state right now. If I run the app, it would only open the camera view and nothing would happen because we didn't do anything on the images. So I'm going to start setting the delegate and I'm going to implement it. What are we going to do in the first iteration of the demo? Just so it's also easy to follow and see what we are doing. At the beginning, the only thing I'm going to do is when a node has been added to ARKit, I'm going to add a black plane on top. Just so when I scan the picture, basically what you will see on the camera feed of the phone is a black plane on top of it. And then later, as you can see on the commented code, I will also add the video and well, do more stuff with it. How do we add the background node? For reference, well, you will see in a couple of lines why. I need the width and the height of the actual image. I'm going to create a node, and we're going to create a plane with the width and height that matches exactly the image. Also for this case, it's really important to set the exact physical size of the image correctly in the resources folder. If not, the detected plane won't be exactly on top. Then to the scene plane, I'm going to set basically the content, which for now it's just going to be the black, color black with a small alpha on top. I set the geometry to the node. I set the, because ARKit, I need to set, basically with this line what I'm doing is I'm setting the plane to be basically just on top of the image, not relative to the camera, but relative to the detected image. Initially I'm going to set the opacity to 0, so it doesn't just pop up, but it pops up with this small animation. It fades in, sorry, and then it moves out of the plane by 0.1, 0.1 being 0.1 meters. Everything here, the units are in meters, so it will move up 10 centimeters in front of the detected image. And right now we should be at a point that works. Let me compile. And hopefully I still have the image. It should be installing. Okay. I tried to do the demo a couple of times and it worked, so don't see why it wouldn't work now. And indeed, well, shadows didn't work that good, but you see the, well, on both of the images you see the black plane on top. And if we move close to it, if the cable allows me, we see it's like floating on top by 10 centimeters. Okay, yeah, so we are slowly getting to the point that we want. The idea was though to show a play button, like in the failed welcome video, that we can tap and then play the commercial on top of the actual image on the ground. For that, we're going to add the play button. Yeah, which is quite similar to what we just did for the background plane. Just that the size, note this is hard-coded because I know the size of my paper. So I know 10 by 10 centimeters is, well, it fits inside. Then just like a minute ago, I create the plane, I create the node with the geometry of the plane I just made. I add a name to the node. I will get back to that in a second why. It's basically to know which node has been pressed later on. I set the contents to the UI image, which is the play button. I set the shininess to 1.0. We will see it in a second, the image on the ground here. It's quite dark, and by default, ARKit would make it fit the lighting. And with this, I just also always want to be at like maximum shininess. Actually, like the content of the image. And this is the same that like we did before. I'm just going to set it 1 centimeter above the plane. What happens is we don't put it above the plane, then some flickering will happen, because the rendering won't know which one has priority, since it's at the exact same position. I haven't tested how many zeros you can put in between. I did try for once this, and this seems to be enough. I don't know how far you can go, but yeah, 1 centimeter above visually doesn't show when you use the app, and yeah, it removes the flickering effect. So once again, I should be able to show you this. If it compiles, yeah. I think I just closed it. Okay. I'm going to run it again. Okay. Yeah, if I cover the camera, it will be black, of course. So yeah, well, now we are seeing the play button on top of the plane. Slowly, we're getting there. What do I want to do now? I also want to add the actual TV ad, which is the video corresponding to that image that has been detected. Yeah. Yeah, quite a big snippet in this case. Is it actually readable, more or less, for everybody, or is this too much? Yep. Okay. Video node. It's same thing we did before, more or less. We again get the width and the height. We create a node. We create the geometry of the width and only 1.77 of the height. Why this number? It's basically converting the video aspect ratio to, well, to make it fit to the video aspect ratio, which is 16 by 9, I believe. The same, I want it to be horizontal. I want the same animation as before. Note here also this slightly different number, so it doesn't overlap with the previous plane, but it's just in front of the background. Then I set also the name. I save a reference to it, and initially I will set it to hidden, so only the play button is visible, and we can start playing the video once we tap it. Then I need to set up the actual video on top of the node we just created. Yeah, this part, it's not really specific to ARKit anymore. This, we create an AV player. We create a SpriteKit video node. We add also the player. We save a reference to it for later use. I set the Y scale to -1 because I actually want to play the video top up, not, how do you call it, turn down. It's not the word, flip down, I think it is. Then, yeah, I create a SpriteKit scene. I set the size of it. And I set the scale mode, well, to aspect fit, because I don't want a weird video. I set the position, of course, also. Here I need to set it to half the width and half the size of the image, because the origin in, well, UIKit it's top left, in SceneKit it's in the center, and in SpriteKit it's the bottom left. So I need to... Sorry? Sorry. Yeah, so now if I would play it, I would see the exact same map as before. The only thing is the video is not visible, but we don't see it. So I'm gonna skip compiling it now. And I'm going to make one last extension to add the gesture recognition. I'm going to do it really basic with just the touches began. I'm going to, well, first make sure it's located in the scene view, which in this case it will always be because it's a full screen view. And then I want to make sure that the node I touched has a name. Why? Because the nodes I just created, all of them, I gave them a name, so it's, I'm not saying it's the best way, it's not at all, just for the, well, easy understanding in the demo, it's the way to make sure that I press a node I just created. Then, if those two conditions has been met, and if the node has the prefix play node, it means I have pressed a play button node, which then would mean I want to start playing the video. And if I've pressed the video, I will stop the video. Why play and stop? Basically, if I play the video, what I'm going to do in a second, I'm going to hide the play button, show the video node, and if I stop the video, I'm going to show the play button and hide the video node. So yeah, this is what I was just commenting. Play video, I hide the play node, I show the video node, and I start playing the video player. And and to stop the video, yeah, this is the equivalent of calling pause, setting the rate to 0. I'm going to also stop the video and go back to the beginning, so it's not really a pause, it's really a stop. And yeah, I'm going to switch around the visibility of the play button and the video node. That's it. I'm going to compile again. I'm going to put the image a bit higher. Hopefully the shadows won't mess around. And yeah. So there we have the video we can play, and then we could start playing the video on top. I'm not sure why. There we go, full screen. Then there we have the ad playing on top of the detected image. If we scroll down, you can see it's floating on top. We can press it, we stop, and we can start over again. Yeah, what else? Some things to note. There are a couple of more, well, quite some more delegate methods. We should handle, for example, the did update node, will update or did update, whatever is best for our case. And we should also handle when a node is deleted. Yeah, for demo purposes, I just wanted to keep it simple. So yeah, I think this is more or less it. I had a paper somewhere which had a list of things I shouldn't forget. So yeah. Yeah, also I should mention that with the delegate method, something nice that we could have done, and maybe, well, if you want to play around with it, I can share the code and you can do it later or at home or whenever, is detect when the video is moved off screen with the delegate method and then pause the video. Or pause the second video when, pause the first video when the second video has started playing or anything like that. So yeah, it's gone a bit quicker than expected. I should have talked a lot slower, but normally happens to me when I get a bit nervous. Sorry for that. Yeah, so thank you.